Testing 1, 2, 3. Well, folks, it appears that my beginning video is not going to play again. I'm sorry about that. I'm so very sorry about that. But this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our show tonight. We have a lot of things we need to talk about. I want to get this show on the road as we speak because there's so much to talk about. I don't want to waste another minute. I want to make sure we're on the air. Can someone give me a 5x5 to make sure we're on the air here? Okay, Richard has already given us a 5x5. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Guys, what is going on is unreal. It's unreal. If I didn't know better, I would swear that something was wrong. Really wrong. I've been doing this business for quite some time now. I've been doing this business for a very long time now. Last week, we reported on volcanoes on the West Coast and the possibility of an eruption here on the West Coast. I want to reaffirm that that is the case still. There's still very much a possibility of a volcanic eruption here on the West Coast, possibly in the Pacific Northwest. I'm going to get back to that in just a minute. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. And please, folks, if you will and want to support us, go down to the scrolling information at the bottom of your screen. You can see 2 PayPal and Venmo location where you can support us there. Also, scrolling across the bottom of the screen here is our address here, our physical address, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401, Morganton, North Carolina. Zip code here is 28655. You also see our email address. If you guys have any questions or ideas for our program or things that you want to see here, please send that information to our email address. Also, if you like what you're seeing here on this program, be sure to subscribe to this program. And while you're doing that, right next to the subscription button, right below this video here, is a little bell icon. Click on that, make sure you're going to get notified when we come on this program. When you click on the little bell icon, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items that's going to come up. Click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when we come on the air. We come on the air between 4 and 5. I want to get as close to 4 p.m. as possible Eastern Daylight Time. That's what I'm going to shoot for, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time from now on. We came on the air just a few minutes ago here, and I'm sorry we came on the air a little bit later than I wanted to. But folks, if you appreciate what we're doing for you, please give us a thumbs up to the program, subscribe to the program, and also click on that notification bell to make sure you get notified when we come on the air. That's very important. Now, a lot of things have happened during the past, even 24 hours. I first want to start off with Mount Etna. Mount Etna erupted today. Mount Etna erupted over in Sicily today. Okay? Big deal. Huge deal. Very huge deal. What happened? Okay? I'm going to show you a picture now of what happened in Sicily today. Oh, darn it. Give me a second here. This was Mount Etna erupting early this morning in Sicily. There were some people hiking on the mountain when it happened. Those people were scurrying out of trouble's way. out of the way of getting hit by lava coming down the volcano, which there was, and possibly even lava balls being hurled by the eruption. The eruption happened this morning, and it happened with great velocity. Mount Etna erupted this morning, and it's a rambunctious volcano. It grumbled back to life today, spewing hot ash and lava in a pyroclastic flow. Sicily's volcanic monitoring body said today that there was no reports of any risk to local population, which is accustomed to Etna's frequent eruptions or to air travel. The volcanic department, which is run by Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, said today that explosions of interesting intensity that it said were almost continuous. By noon today, they said in the social media post on Facebook that the explosive activity from the southeast crater had become a lava fountain. The southeast crater collapsed. The southeast crater of the volcano collapsed, which led to the eruption. Okay? Lava flowed down the mountain's face. The video showed a massive, and I can't show you the video, you're going to have to go and find it. They won't allow me to show it, otherwise they'll get a copyright strike. But there was a massive plume of smoke and ash rising into the clear blue sky. The volcano department said that the eruption was caused again by Etna's southeast crater collapsing, which released the lava flows. The only danger in the area right around the summit of Mount Etna which was closed to tour groups today as a precaution, but that is the only area on the southeast side of the volcano. That was the only area that was closed. You can see in the media video that they posted on Facebook, they said that the tourists, and I saw this happen, tourists who'd been on Mount Etna running along a path on the side of the volcano scurried out of harm's way as the smoke billowed from the volcano. Renato Schifani, who's head of Sicily's regional government, said the pyroclastic flows pose no danger to the population of the island. Mount Etna is considered the most active volcano in Europe and the most active stratovolcano in the world. A stratovolcano. How many of you know what a stratovolcano is? What many people think of when they hear the word volcano is the conical type. Rises into the air like this, often with a central crater. That is formed by layer upon layer of lava over repeated eruptions of thousands of years. It only becomes a huge volcano like that over thousands of years and repeated eruptions of lava pouring down the sides of the volcano. A video posted by the Department of Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology said it shows Mount Etna on Sicily erupting this morning. A very significant eruption over a year ago was the last time it erupted. It has had fresh lava in the top of the volcano for some time, off and on. Now, what has happened before today? We've seen pictures and video in the past year where lava is at the top of the volcano and something else is happening. Rare ring-like clouds known as vortex bubbles puffed out of the crater. We've seen that at Mount Etna, we've seen it at Mount Rainier, and we've also seen it over at Mount St. Helens. Heidi Petrick just put out 5 Emergency Management Associates memberships. Folks, if you've received a membership here, please thank Heidi Petrick for that. Heidi, thank you so much, little lady. We sure appreciate that. Those people that got memberships include Night Monkey, Deborah Lira, Reina Rubles, Kimbo Sibley, and Mike Woodward. You all received 1-month memberships to Emergency Management Associate. Tomorrow we're going to have a members-only meeting. So folks, if you are a member of Emergency Management Associates, stand by sometime around 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have a members meeting tomorrow morning. Heidi Petrick also gave us a $20 super chat. Heidi, thank you ever so much. God bless you, Heidi. That means so much to us. Anyway, those ring-like clouds called vortex bubbles formed over the top of the crater. We've seen that not just at Mount Etna before, but again at Mount Rainier and also at Mount St. Helens. Etna has erupted at least once a year for the last several years, and sometimes it's covering the ashfall, covers nearby towns in a layer of volcanic dust. Unreal. But so far, there's been no injuries or other big problems with this volcano. The volcanic ash plume today have reached an altitude of approximately 6,400 meters or 19,200 feet high. Now, at first, the Volcanology Department of Italy issued an orange alert. But that alert was downgraded to yellow late this afternoon because there is no danger from this eruption. The area around Mount Etna has been covered in ash, a small layer of ash today, but they don't think there's going to be any other problems as a result of today's eruption at Mount Etna. I want to talk about that. Now, earlier today, when we were on the air, someone talked about a mass shooting here in North Carolina. Yes, I've done my investigation. Yes, it did happen yesterday morning. I want to give you this information, then we'll talk about it. Let me play this video from the Hickory police. Hickory is a city just north of us, just about 17 miles north of us. And a group of people got together and held a party, and that's where the shooting happened.
Why did you guys get called out here this morning?
Around 12:45 this morning, deputies received a call of multiple persons shot at a residence on this street behind me. When deputies arrived, they discovered multiple people had been shot and began rendering aid, and we've been investigating ever since.
What type of event was going out here late in the night, last night and this morning?
We're still trying to figure that out. As we've learned so far, there was a party at the residence in question where the shooting occurred.
The people, do you have any suspects at this point? Are there people you're still looking for involved with this shooting?
We're not commenting on suspects at this time. We are fully investigating and trying to establish motive and those responsible.
Any idea on how many people could potentially be involved in this?
More than one. We don't have an exact count at this time.
How many injuries, how many shot, how many killed? Do you mind going over that again for me?
A dozen total injuries. One of those dozen is deceased. Another is critically injured. The rest are in area hospitals.
Okay. You want to get in here?
Yep.
What is this a neighborhood you guys are called out to too often? I mean, is this any history of shootings here or anything of that nature that you're aware of?
No particular history here at the residence behind us, and this is a fairly quiet street.
Ages of people who were involved in this, can you give any comment on that?
Varying ages.
Young kids, high school, there's a lot going on around out there. This could have been like some kind of graduation party or pool party of that nature.
Right. We don't know the theme of the party in question, and we're not commenting on specific ages of people at this time.
Okay. Any idea on next update or when you think you'd be able to give us a little more information?
Hopefully something this afternoon.
Gotcha.
And you said, what's this neighborhood? What's it called, and what type of neighborhood is it?
The neighborhood is called Walnut Acres, and the road here is Walnut Acres Drive.
And is this Hickory?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And just to be clear, the other 12 who were injured, any updates on their conditions at all? Because there's just information going on social media, sure. Stable, critical, any idea?
I would say serious condition for the balance of the 12, which would be 10, then one critical and one deceased, totaling 12.
So it's possible more people could lose their lives?
It's certainly possible, yes.
That's all I've got.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Any other agencies here involved investigating?
We have Hickory Police Department, the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
What's FBI doing here?
They've offered assistance assessing the crime scene and helping us identify and follow leads.
Any idea the number of gunshots at this point?
Multiple.
Question, how expansive is the crime scene? Is it isolated to a house or extends further into the street?
It is in the street and also in the yard inside the house in question, in the backyard, and in the neighboring yard as well.
Okay, and just for the station again, can you just talk about the top, talk about what you have, the information you have, just about what happened?
The basics that would be.
The basics from the top, yeah.
Sure. Around 12:45 this morning, we received a call about multiple persons being shot at the residence here on Walnut Acres Drive. When deputies arrived, they confirmed multiple persons were shot. Again, we have 12 total injuries. One of those people is deceased, another critically injured, and then 10 people with serious injuries.
Should people, I know you're not commenting on suspects or anything like that right now, should people in the area at all be concerned, taking shelter, any reason to worry about their safety at all?
We don't know of any danger to the community or to the general public. This does seem to be something that had some focus associated with that party.
No arrest, though, at this point?
Not at this time, no, sir. Everybody good? All right, guys, just email me or the way your stations usually get a hold of me if you have other questions. I'll put something out later today.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll be talking to the police chief in Hickory later in the morning. Right now, he's not taking any more questions. He took questions of the media earlier yesterday. The investigation is ongoing in Hickory, North Carolina. Again, 17 miles north of where I live. My wife and I live here in Morganton, North Carolina. There have been some questions about the volcanic activity going on, also earthquakes going on. And yes, the solar eruption that happened on Friday is what I believe started Mount Etna today, and also has had direct effect on the earthquakes that happened all around the world yesterday and today. Yesterday, I reported on this just briefly. There has been a huge solar flare. Now, it's not a huge solar flare in way of magnitude being an R or S class flare or even X class flare. X class is the highest, most dangerous. This was at M class 8.2. And M class 8.2 on the side of the sun facing the earth, near the center of the sun. Now, when it happened, the filament went out from the sun like this, literally out from the sun like this. Then it spread across the entire face of the sun. And it was traveling at over 1 million miles per hour. Over 1 million miles per hour. Now, because of that, they first expected that the radiation, the X-ray radiation, would reach Earth on Saturday morning early. It did. However, the rest of the plasma radiation that raced out from the sun hit the Earth early on Saturday afternoon, like this. It hit the Earth just like this Saturday afternoon. It was not expected to arrive at the Earth until Sunday, but it reached the Earth Saturday afternoon, early evening, and it hit the Earth just like this. It literally engulfed the Earth. Literally engulfed the Earth. It was huge. It was a huge plasma eruption from the sun. Now, let me see. I think I have yes, I do, right here. This is what it looked like. Look at the image on the left. You saw the image right there erupt. Look at that. That's how it went out. And it continued going out. Now, the center of this image here is the sun. Out here to the right-hand side is the Earth. As that plasma radiation went out, it literally hit the Earth and went around it. It went around it, guys. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Now, this is always a continued process. The sun fired a huge M class 8.2 flare on Friday. A massive solar storm erupted, was launched towards the Earth. Again, that filament went all the way across the sun like that and then out into space. Okay? It acted like a huge zipper as it went across the face of the sun. Between the big solar flare, which was plasma radiation from region 4100, the entangled filament that raced out into space, launched like a slithered small dark snake across the face of the sun. The sheer length of this huge solar storm was huge, huge. Nothing like I personally have known about for quite some time. Okay? But it erupted early on Friday. M-class flare. It was not a very dangerous X-class flare. However, this M8.2 raced out into space. As a result, it went out there and hit the Earth as a G4 geomagnetic storm. A G4 geomagnetic storm, which affects humans on the Earth. All animals all around the Earth are affected. Their brains, their body are affected. Some people get vertigo, other people get a little bit dizzy, other people experience headaches and body aches. Animals do that. Even dogs, cats, or other gophers or donkeys or cows, they all go through the same thing. So if you are experiencing any animal problems, this is the reason. Now, that also comes and hits the satellites that are orbiting around the Earth, around the moon. Okay? It can, the stronger the pulse of the plasma storm coming from the sun, the strength of it could also knock satellites out of space. We've seen that happen recently during the last year and a half. Knocking satellites out of space, also knocking satellites out of orbit. NASA and Roscosmos in Russia and the European Space Agency have actually in the past had to reactivate the satellites' propulsion engines on some of these to reseat them in orbit. That happens. Now, there has been a question yesterday, and I'm going to answer that right now. The question yesterday was what happens to the astronauts in the space station? In the past few years, the space stations also had to activate their propulsion engines on their spacecraft to boost the space station back out into a elliptical orbit. The solar flares have knocked the space station out of orbit. Also, the astronauts have a special place in the space station itself to protect themselves from the plasma radiation from the sun. There's one special section that the astronauts can get a heads up from the control center in Houston or in Moscow. They can get a heads up that it's coming, and they can put themselves inside this special section of the space station so they're protected from the radiation. Okay? Catherine Sigurdsson says, maybe the sun is burning us now. It is. It is. I checked with NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. They said today that people that are going to be out in the sun today need to wear long sleeve shirts, gloves, wide brim hats, and even sunglasses to help protect their eyes from the solar radiation. Okay? Make sure you're not wearing shorts or swimsuits. You're going to get an additional sunburn from that. If you're outside in the sun, no matter what, wear SPF 50, at least SPF 50 sunscreen. That's just to help you guys out. Okay? Be aware of that. Please be aware of that. Hurricane Heather says she's in a really bad mood today, agitated, irritable. I can understand that, Heather. I totally understand that. I'm not going to get into it here on the program right now. I know what Heather's been going through, and she also needs her prayers, guys. Heather needs her prayers. And if you find it in your heart, pray for her. Okay? Give her some love here in the chat as well. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about this solar flare or anything else that goes along with it here on the Earth? Again, it does affect the volcanoes. It does affect the earthquakes because the earthquakes happen when this solar plasma radiation reaches Earth. It heats up the earthquake faults. It heats up the tectonic plates. All the crud that keeps the plates and the faults in place, the friction. All that friction that keeps it in place gets turned into an oily, greasy-like substance, allowing the faults to more easily move and allow the tectonic plates to move like this as well. All that dirt, all that grit, all that grime, all the biological material turns into an oily, greasy-like substance, allowing the plates and the faults to more freely move like this. That's what happens. And we've seen that. We've seen that happen. Now, I'm going to quickly get back to the shooting in Hickory right now, and I will get back to what happened over at Mount Etna, and I will be talking about earthquakes in a few minutes. I will be talking about volcano activity as well. The shooting in Hickory, North Carolina, again, it happened 17 miles north of us. Okay? The shooting resulted in one person's death and at least 11 injuries. One of those very serious injuries. All those that have been injured have ended up in local hospitals. The incident occurred at a house party on Walnut Acres Drive in Hickory, North Carolina, in the Mountain View community. It happened at about 12:45 a.m. Sunday. The shooting involved at least 80 shots. Pop, 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 pop. Those shots took place during a large gathering with reports of people from nearby high schools and individuals in their 20s and older attending. A lot of these people were teenagers and people in their 20s and older. Many attending from local nearby high schools at the party. There is an ongoing investigation by the Catawba County Sheriff's Office, the Hickory Police Department, the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, the SBI, and the FBI as well. Again, like the police chief in Hickory talked about in that video. The FBI volunteered to come in and assist since this involved high school students. Okay? The motive for the shooting right now is unknown. It might be possible linked to animosity between individuals at the party. That's typically the case. The identity of those involved in the incidents are being withheld right now because those involved appear to be underage minors. So if that's still the case, we probably will not find out the identities except if it comes out of the person that fired the shots. Possibly then and only then will the police release the identity of the shooter. The circumstances surrounding the shooting and the flow of events leading to the incident is under investigation. So I personally don't know exactly what's going on. Yes, I have some information, but I'm not willing to share it. As of early this morning, no arrests have been made in the Sunday shooting Sunday morning. Now, I want to also, as yes, it does, David, look like gang violence. That's personally what I believe it is. This morning, I came on the air about 4 or 5 hours ago, actually 6 hours ago. There was a involved mass shooting in Boulder, Colorado. And actually, it wasn't necessarily a mass shooting at all. A suspect has been identified. I want to show you that information on him right now. He's been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon. Mohammed Sabri Solomon, age 45. He's now facing possibility of a murder charge because if any one of those individuals that end up in local hospitals, either in Boulder, Denver, or Aurora, Colorado, if one of those victims dies, he will be held responsible for murder. Right now, he's been targeted with assault and other charges following his arrest yesterday afternoon. The FBI is called this a targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado yesterday afternoon. Let me play the video from the press conference yesterday.
Senior fellow and national security analyst Rebecca Heinrichs. Rebecca, the suspect was here illegally after staying both his original visa and his work authorization. Simply put, he shouldn't have been here, and this was preventable, Rebecca.
He shouldn't have been here. He overstayed his visa, illegal immigrant, and he had jihadist sympathies. And remember, just a couple of weeks ago, we had another couple who a killer believed that they were Jewish, and he was a communist. So we have a communist killing these individuals. Same thing, globalize the Intifada, free Palestine, and now here we have again a jihadist who has the same kind of sympathies, who overstayed his visa. Two different kinds of people, but the same motivation, which is to kill the Jewish people.
Is there a means by which the national security apparatus could have caught this guy based upon his ideologies before he entered the U.S., if not for the Joe Biden era approach to letting everybody in this country who wanted to come in?
Well, it's hard to know at this point, but I'll say, the things that he was shouting right before he took action to kill these innocent elderly people, it's the same kind of thing that you hear on college campuses across the country. Globalize the Intifada. I mean, and this came on the heels, by the way, of what I believe really is a blood libel, where you had the media erroneously reporting that the Israelis were shooting on innocent civilians at a humanitarian checkpoint to get food. And so if you have false reporting that makes it seem as though the Israelis are the ones shooting on innocent people, of course, you should expect to have an incitement of violence when you can see these protests across the country from college campuses and abroad. So it's a tinderbox.
And along those lines, Rebecca, let's be crystal clear what this was. This was a public burning of Jews and their supporters on American soil. We use the phrase terror attack. That can mean a lot of things. We need to be crystal clear and specific as to ultimately what happened. And of course, this comes right after the execution of those two Israeli diplomats in Washington, D.C. How do we stop this escalation of terror now before it becomes something bigger?
Okay. Notice
well,
that
I think
they
the first
blurred
thing that
this
we have
picture.
to do is to differentiate between what the First Amendment protects, which is just peaceful speech, even if you disagree with it. That's one kind of speech, but the other kind is incitement. It's anti-Semitic, genocidal incitement. And so I think these college campuses cannot continue to normalize it. Jewish students must feel safe in this country to walk. Non-Jewish students, I mean, I'm a Christian. I believe it's every Christian's responsibility to be very doggedly defensive of our Jewish neighbors, to make sure that this does not continue to grow, because this is the kind of thing, anti-Semitism grows across societies if it is not stigmatized and stopped. And so I really think it's a duty of all of us to do that, in addition to the national security things our government can do, like make sure that those who hate this country are not allowed to be in this country, and those who are here need to be deported.
Okay, I totally believe that. I completely agree with what that woman said. These kinds of people that did this crime in Boulder, Colorado, don't belong here. They just plain don't belong here. Now, Heather said that there was a stand your ground law in Colorado. But several years back, the Democrats took over the state. Now the former governor of Colorado is now a state congressman in Washington. He's a congressman in Washington. His name's Hickenlooper. Hickenlooper is a Democrat communist. He's an avowed communist. When we have communists at the full head of our country, that's bad. That can change our country completely. And I believe we have a ton of communists, both Republican and Democrat, that are running this country. And we, the citizens of the United States, need to remove them from their seats. We need to vote them out. In this next election, we need to remove them by vote from their seats and replace them with someone that will write laws that we want to see on the books, that will protect citizens here in this country. Because right now it's not happening. This gentleman that was allowed to do what he did should never happen. He was an illegal alien from Egypt. He was an illegal alien from Egypt. Let me play portion of the news conference from yesterday evening. This is a news conference from the the Boulder Police Headquarters involving the Boulder Police Chief and the officer in charge of the FBI.
From FBI Denver, Special Agent in Charge, Mark McCulloch. His name is Mark, M-A-R-K, McCulloch, M-I-C-H-A-L-E-K. After that, you will hear from Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern. That is S-T-E-P-H-E-N. Redfern is R-E-D-F-E-A-R-N. After the two men speak, we will take a few questions at the end. Thank you. And now, Mr. McCulloch.
The FBI shares in the sorrow of the Boulder community, especially to those who have family or friends injured in this tragedy. We have surged resources and personnel to the scene. Our special agents, our victim specialists, and evidence response teams are doing everything they can to assist our law enforcement partners. In the coming days, we will continue to support the victims and help uncover the events leading up to this terrible attack. Know that we stand with you, we grieve with you, and we are here to help for as long as it takes. We're early in the investigation, but some details have emerged. I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon, and he's 45 years old. The FBI is processing the crime scene and the subject vehicle and interviewing key witnesses. We're assisting Boulder Police in providing technical, analytic, and additional forensic resources. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across the country. This is an example of how perpetrators of violence continue to threaten communities across our nation. It's our job, the FBI, the Boulder Police, and our law enforcement and community partners, to bring these criminals to justice and keep our communities safe. We're asking for the public's help as we continue to investigate this horrific act of violence. I'll direct anyone that has phone calls, that wants to make phone calls, to 1-800-CALL-FBI. And if you have digital evidence, whether that is video or social media posts or anything that can help the investigators, please send that to fbi.gov/Boulder Attack, BOULDER-ATTACK. Our strength as a society comes from our shared values and our commitment to protecting one another. Any attempt to protect Any attempt to divide us through fear or harm has no place in Boulder, in Colorado, or anywhere in our nation. We stand in full solidarity with those targeted, and we will continue to ensure that justice is pursued swiftly, that support is provided to victims and their communities, and preventative action is taken to protect everyone's safety. And I'll turn it over to Boulder Police Chief Redfern.
Thank you, Special Agent in Charge. As was mentioned, my name is Stephen Redfern. I serve as the police chief here in Boulder. I want to thank, first and foremost, the FBI for their swift response today and our partnerships which preceded this attack today. We are very grateful for their assistance and we'll be working hand in hand moving forward. I want to give first an update on the scene. As many of you are aware, we have several blocks closed off in downtown Boulder surrounding the courthouse. We are still clearing that area for devices. We have multiple teams of K9 and our bomb squad and hazmat teams in that area. I cannot at this point give you an estimated time for opening of that area downtown. We're hopeful it will be this evening. We understand that people's vehicles are in that area that's closed and they'd like to get them please follow the Boulder Police Twitter account or other social media as well. We will report on that when we open that area. We want to be reasonably sure as best as we can before we open the area and let people go back there to businesses to get their vehicles, that it is as safe as possible. The courthouse, I will announce, the courthouse will be closed tomorrow. There is business in that courthouse through the Boulder County. It will be closed tomorrow as we continue this investigation. Just a couple of mentions. We know there's other events, including things going on this evening in town and in the coming week, and we are ensuring that we have resources there at those events to ensure that people are able to go about their business safely in light of this attack. But as always, we urge people to call 911, call us if they see suspicious behavior, if they see someone that's acting in a manner that appears to be suspicious. We would like to receive that call, go out and verify whether somebody's behavior is malicious or not. I want to thank our law enforcement partners. I started by thanking the FBI, but when this call came out today, we asked for help from all of our partnering agencies, some of whom are here today, and I can't thank you enough. It's not the first time we've had to do that here in Boulder, and it's not the first time that we've had to do that in the metro area. And the special agent in charge referenced partnerships. When we put out the call today, we had a lot of help, both locally and from the region, and I really can't thank our partners enough. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the first responders today. When this call came out today, our officers rushed as quickly as they could somewhere close to the area, and they immediately ran into a chaotic situation where a man was throwing Molotov cocktails and using other devices to hurt people. Our officers, as they're trained, immediately interacted with the suspect, took him into custody, and then began rendering aid to those victims. And I'm very proud of our response today. I'm very proud of our partners as well with the fire department and well as American Medical Response. Before we take some questions, I just want to say that Boulder is not immune to tragedy, sadly, and I know a lot of people are scared right now. A lot of people are upset and questioning how this happened and why. All I know is Boulder has recovered before from acts of violence, and we will again recover. I urge the community in this time to come together. Now is not the time to be divisive, and we will continue to ensure community safety along with all of our partners. To echo the special agent in charge comments, our hearts go out to everyone affected today. Here and in Colorado, we understand that this has a ripple effect in many communities, and we are continuing to stand with and support the victims affected today by this attack. With that, I think we'll turn it back over to our public information officers.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right here, just like I did earlier today, because the PIO, the public information officer, takes questions from the media, and those questions I've already answered or I will answer. Now, Sage Pup asked a question about that solar storm affecting satellites, GPS devices, and communication. Yes, that is the case. It has affected GPS stations here on Earth, both civilian and military. It's also affected satellites in orbit. Again, NASA has had to activate rocket engines on satellites to boost them back up into their orbit where they were before this solar storm hit the Earth. That typically happens. Almost every major solar storm it does. This was not an X-class flare, however. It was an M-class 8.2. That was enough to make things very difficult for GPS satellites and other satellites going around the globe today. Unreal. There are over 8,000 pieces of junk. 8,000 pieces of junk along with satellites orbiting the Earth. Imagine that. Pieces of rocket bodies, engines, pieces of rockets that have fallen off the rocket when it was launched, pieces of spacecraft, other objects that have let go from the space station or other spacecraft. That's happened. Now, let me just briefly tell you something else that I forgot about until just now. On board the Chinese space station, you may or may not know that the Chinese have a space station also up in Earth orbit, low Earth orbit. The Chinese astronauts have acquired a very bad earthborne bacteria on board their space station. They may have to evacuate their space station because they don't want any other astronauts exposed to that bacteria. And right now, the Chinese are having a very hard time controlling the spread of that bacteria in their space station. They may have to evacuate their space station completely. It's unknown where that bacteria came from, except they said it was an earthborne bacteria. I mean, it could have originated on the Earth, they don't know. But it's on board the space station. That creates a lot of problems. Okay? That came out yesterday from space.com. That's what's going on there. Now, does anybody have any questions about what happened over in Boulder, Colorado yesterday? I'm going to answer some questions here. I'm also going to give you more information on what happened in Boulder right now. Okay? Again, the suspect, Mohammed Sabri Solomon, has been arrested. He's under arrest. I showed you this. I'm sorry, that wasn't it. I showed you the picture of him being arrested this morning on the ground. He was actually arrested last night. When Boulder police arrived there, they arrested him at gunpoint. He didn't want to get on the ground. He gave the officer a very bad time, and the officer finally put him on the ground. Look at what he's got in his hand. Molotov cocktails. Okay? It's now come out from the police investigation that not only did he have that sprayer, he had a white spray backpack on his back, which typically has herbicide to kill weeds. In this case, he put gasoline in it. And when he opened up the valve to the sprayer, he lit it on fire and sprayed like a flamethrower out into the crowd that was marching down the street. The crowd marching down the street was elderly people, 55 years and older on up to 86. 8 people were injured. One person was taken to the burn unit at Aurora General Hospital in Aurora, Colorado. Some of the injured were taken to the Denver area hospitals, several hospitals, one in Inglewood, one in downtown Denver area. Others spread out through the community of Denver in the urban areas. They also had a hospital in Boulder, Colorado that took some of the injured. Okay? Now, I've been in Boulder. I spent some time in Boulder. Being a cop, I was active with the Boulder police. Okay? I was active with the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration Department of Commerce Police in Boulder, Colorado. Boulder is a very leftist Democrat community. It's a leftist Democrat community. In many cases, many cases, the people in Boulder, Colorado are communists. Many people in Boulder are communists. Incredible. I wouldn't have even thought that when I first moved to Denver. But people in Boulder are very much left-wing. This suspect, Mohammed Sabri Solomon, lived in Colorado Springs, and he spent a year or better planning this attack. He waited a year until his daughter graduated from high school before he did his attack. He was an illegal alien. He first was allowed in the United States back in 2023 on a visa. But yesterday, he reacted with violence. He drove up from Colorado Springs to Boulder, Colorado. He planned this. This was premeditated. Okay? He went over to a park on the side of the Pearl Street Mall. The Pearl Street area is a walking mall. They do not allow cars on Pearl Street. It's in the area of downtown Boulder, Colorado. The violence yesterday was against a pro-Israeli group advocating for Hamas to release Israeli hostages. And what happened yesterday? 8 people were injured by the flamethrower and the Molotov cocktails. 1 injured critically, according to the FBI. Police responded to the area after receiving reports of a man with a weapon setting people on fire. As I reported earlier, an eyewitness to the scene of Brian H. He doesn't want to give the rest of his name, nor is he wanting to give his face out on the media. He told the media and the police that he and his family were dining at a food hall near the scene of the crime. I also had lunch at a restaurant there on Pearl Street when I first moved to Denver. In this case, he and his family were at a food hall there on Pearl Street when a woman ran towards them saying that a man was throwing fire at people. Brian got up and ran into the courtyard where he saw a man carrying a white tank on his back that resembled a garden chemical sprayer, a makeshift flamethrower. It likely did not require complex materials. Videos obtained by social media and also by the news media show witnesses to the attack saying Solomon was making Molotov cocktails. As I said before, the partial result of the investigation said that he had 14 other Molotov cocktails ready to throw, which he did not do before police got there. Brian said he saw fabric coming out of the people. He quickly realized that there was a Molotov cocktail that was thrown on the street. 1 exploded right in front of us, Brian said. He noted that another man was trying to talk the suspect down, but the suspect kept yelling, "F you Zionists. You all deserve to die. You've killed these children." Brian said he was very erratic, shouting and spewing terrible things at different people. After calling 911, Brian H. approached to see if he could assist any victims. He described seeing an elderly woman lying on the ground unresponsive. There were several people attending to her and wrapping her up to ensure she was okay. People from a restaurant across the street were bringing large buckets of ice water to help extinguish the flames. He grabbed a bucket and filled it with water from a fountain in the middle of the courtyard. I just kept filling that up and pouring it on their legs. Their pants were completely burned and singed off. It looked like their skin had just melted off their bodies. 4 women and 4 men between ages 52 and 88 years old were transported to local hospitals. Boulder police said authorities had earlier put the count of injured at 6. There were actually 8. The victims were transported to the Boulder Hospital, Denver area hospitals, and like I said, the Aurora Burn Center Hospital in Aurora, Colorado. Now, it is abundantly clear that this was a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism. That's what FBI agent McCulloch said. Sadly, attacks like this are becoming too common across this country. Stephen Redfern, the Boulder police chief, told reporters hours earlier that it would be irresponsible to speculate on motive, though he said he was aware that the FBI was probing an alleged hate crime. And today, this afternoon, federal charges from the Department of Justice have come out against Soleimani. Hate crime charges. There will be other federal charges coming in the coming days, but he is being charged with hate crime from the federal government. Multiple other charges from state, city, and local statutes. Stephen Redfern from the Boulder Police said that there was a pro-Israeli gathering there taking place every Sunday for the past year. He added that multiple people were injured when the conditions ranging from minor to very serious. Injuries were consistent with individuals being set on fire. The attack occurred hours before the holiday of Shabbat, one of the most sacred times on the Jewish calendar. Terrorism against Jews or anyone else does not stop at the Gaza border. It's already burning the streets of America. That's according to the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. Colorado governor in Washington, D.C., AOC, Elizabeth Warren, all coming from the congressmen and senators in Washington. On a personal account, Jared Polis wrote, as the American Jewish community continues to reel from the horrific anti-Semitic murders in Washington, D.C., it's unfathomable that the Jewish community is facing another terror attack in Boulder on the eve of the holiday of Shabbat, no less. One of the women who was in the group was attacked in Boulder yesterday. She was a Holocaust survivor. One of the women was attacked at the Pearl Street Mall area yesterday was a Holocaust survivor, an elderly woman. Several individuals were brutally attacked while peacefully marching to draw attention to the plight of the hostages who had been held by Hamas in Gaza for 604 days. I condemn this vicious act of terrorism, and I pray for the recovery of the victims. Yes, Colorado is a sanctuary state. Colorado is a sanctuary state which attracts these illegal aliens. Leo Terrell, who's the head of the federal task force to combat anti-Semitism and a Department of Justice advisor, said this was not an isolated incident. This anti-Semitic terrorist attack is part of a horrific, escalating wave of violence targeting Jews and their supporters simply for being Jewish or standing up for the Jewish people. Yesterday in Boulder, Colorado, Jewish people marched with a moral and humane demand to return the hostages. In response, the Jewish protesters were brutally attacked, with an attacker throwing Molotov cocktails at them and had a flamethrower throwing flames at them as well. Eric Fingerhut, president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of North America, stated, quote, "The attack in Boulder is just another example of a wave of domestic terror aimed at the Jewish community, a wave that must be the highest priority of the Trump administration and Congress." Again, Soleimani was charged with murder in the first degree if someone dies. He will be charged with murder in the first degree if someone dies. Deliberation with intent. He planned this. He deliberated over it for over a year. Extreme indifference. This is a specific charge from Boulder, Colorado. First degree with extreme indifference. He didn't care who he hit. Crimes against at-risk adults. Crimes against elderly people. First degree assault, non-family. First degree assault, heat of passion. First degree assault, criminal attempt to commit a Class 1 and Class 2 felonies. Use of explosives or incendiary devices during a felony. Someone said that he had been planning the attack for over a year. He said that he had been waiting for his daughter to graduate from high school before he carried out this attack. Then he would self-deport himself across the border to get out from underneath the charges. He was taken down by police in Boulder, Colorado at gunpoint. He also told federal agents he would do it again. Salman was also, like I said, in the United States illegally. As of this morning, there are no fatalities. As of this morning, there were no fatalities. This has been confirmed either by the FBI or the Boulder Police Department. Solomon was booked into the Boulder County Jail on Sunday evening, and he's being remained in custody, being held on a $10 million bond. $10 million bond. Now, it has been determined that Soleimani was an Egyptian man in the United States illegally. The FBI Director Kash Patel said this: "We are fully aware and fully investigating targeted terror attack in Boulder. Our agents and local law enforcement are on the scene already, and we will share updates as more information becomes available." President Trump pledged today on a Truth Social platform to prosecute the perpetrator to the fullest extent of the law. Yesterday's horrific attack in Boulder, Colorado will not be tolerated in the United States of America. According to records, Soleimani came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt this country badly. As Trump said, he must go out under Trump policy. He must go out under Trump policy. This is yet another example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland. Again, Soleimani was 45 years old. He was rescued and arrested and taken to the hospital with minor injuries after his alleged attack on the Run for Your Lives group that was gathered on the Pearl Street Mall yesterday afternoon. The Run for Their Lives group is a grassroots organization that facilitates global run and walk events calling for the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. This particular chapter of the group meets on a weekly basis. Soleimani was allegedly yelling "Free Palestine" during the attack, which was near the county courthouse on Pearl Street. Assistant FBI Director Dan Bongino said the attack is being investigated as an act of ideologically motivated violence based on early evidence and witness accounts. Soleimani first arrived in the United States after landing at LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, on August 27th, 2022. He arrived with a non-immigrant visa. He was authorized to stay through February 2nd, 2023, but he never left. On September 9th, 2022, he filed a claim with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, ICE. On March 29th, 2023, Soleimani was granted work authorization by the Biden administration, which is valid through March this year. His authorization to work here in this country has now been revoked as of March this year. Officials are working to assess whether the alleged attacker has any possible mental health issues. A source familiar with the FBI told the news media he may have that. And I would just bet you right now, his attorneys are going to look at that heavily and try to get him off on a mental health assessment. Doesn't go. He was an illegal alien here. He should not have been here. The FBI is also conducting a court-authorized law enforcement activity in El Paso County, meaning an activated search warrant of his home in Colorado Springs, El Paso County, Colorado Springs, which is a little over 100 miles from Boulder. Sunday's attack comes less than 2 weeks after 2 Israeli embassy staffers were fatally shot in Washington, D.C. by a man who claimed to have been acting for Gaza. Sunday's attack took place on, like I said, Pearl Street in Boulder, a pedestrian mall, where that weekly Run for Their Lives event was being held. That Run for Their Lives event is being held every week. It's taken place consistently since October 2023. Their whole goal with that walk or run for your life is to aim to have awareness for Israeli hostages being held captive by Hamas. The Justice Department of the United States, held by Pam Bondi today, has filed hate crime charges against Salman with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. Now, I want to get into something that many of you have been talking about earlier today. That is the smoke that's coming in from the United States, into the United States from Canada. Okay? Many of you talked about it. I've done an investigation. There are 181 active wildfires in Canada as of this afternoon. Smoke is posing a threat to several U.S. states and communities, even in Canada. With more than 100 wildfires burning in Canada, the smoke is bringing potentially dangerous air quality conditions to parts of the northern United States. Dangerous air quality in portions of the United States, that's continuing. This has occurred for many years now. This is no real huge big deal, except for the possibility of the air quality being a threat to life. That is a big deal right there. But it's been happening every year for a long time now. Smoke from these flames have been moving through the upper Midwest over the weekend in rounds and rounds and rounds, with the next round coming through today and on Tuesday tomorrow. The air quality index forecast on today shows conditions labeled as unhealthy for sensitive groups, the third level out of 6 for large portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin, as well as unhealthy in the fourth level out of 6 in a small area of Wisconsin from Waukegan to Sheboygan, including Milwaukee. The heavy smoke will appear over the northwestern part of Minnesota today and will move on through the north and central parts of Minnesota throughout the day today. Air quality alerts are in place for the state on Monday, today, creating very hazy conditions that could be unhealthy for sensitive groups. Tomorrow, the smoke will travel to eastern Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin. It will also be appearing over Minneapolis and Omaha, Nebraska. An incoming cold front, bringing thunderstorms and strong winds, could disperse the smoke and make it difficult to ascertain where it might appear next. As of today, like I said, there are 181 active wildfires burning in Canada, with 92 of these considered to be out of control, meaning the fires are being observed and assessed, but there's no sign of containment of any one of those fires. The areas of Canada with the most fires include British Columbia with 69, Alberta with 49. Last week, the provinces of Saskatchewan and Manitoba declared states of emergency due to the fires, with over 17,000 residents already evacuated. 17,000 residents evacuated. Saskatchewan Public Safety said the combination of dry conditions and little to no precipitation will continue to feed the flames and make it difficult for officials to even manage the fires. Aircraft and dozens of personnel from other Canadian provinces and the United States, including Arizona, Oregon, and Alaska, are now being sent to help fight the wildfires. There's been a significant lack of moisture in the northern parts of Canada and different provinces, which has caused now over 200 wildfires in Saskatchewan this spring. That's according to Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe. Scott Moe is a fantastic individual. I spoke to him earlier today. Scott Moe is saying that he is getting help from other provinces across Canada. He's hoping other fire departments throughout the United States will also offer up help to help them fight the fires, and thus helping try to cut down on the smoke from these fires into the United States and other places. It's unhelpful. It's unhelpful. Even one of our own EMA family members lives in Saskatchewan and is having health problems. And also she's been evacuated. She's been evacuated because of the bad weather and bad smoke. Really bad. David Lowe is here saying it's only slightly hazy from the smoke there in Saskatchewan today. Very dry here. We need rain. I agree, Dave. You guys need rain bad. I am hoping that that cold front will bring some kind of rain and help to you rather than starting fires with lightning. I understand that's what thunderstorms do. They start fires with lightning. But I also hope that some of those thunderstorms will bring heavy rain to your area and put out some of the fires. That would be very helpful to you and everybody else. Does anybody have any questions about that? Does anybody have any questions about the fires or anything else here? Heidi Petrick is saying, I'm beginning to think Canada as we do in California. Is there anything left to burn? I agree. I agree. And we've only started the wildfire season in California. We've only started. This is the beginning. We haven't hardly seen anything going on yet. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We've seen wildfire in Los Angeles last fall, and it was human caused. Human caused. Thousands of people evacuated, thousands of homes burned to the ground. And yet the LA fire chief got fired over it. The LA mayor is being held responsible. But she thinks just because of her age, her beauty, and the LGBTQ process that she has in her life is going to help her stay in power in Los Angeles. I think what she's doing is wrong. I think what she's doing is wrong. Not just because she's LGBTQ, that has nothing to do with it. But what she has done is wrong. During the fire season in Los Angeles last year, she left the country and went to South America. She only came back to Los Angeles after 2 weeks of being outside the country while her city burned. While her city burned. The fire department had a DEI squadron. The fire department had a DEI squadron specifically to initiate LGBTQ people and women and minorities to the fire department. They didn't have to have any background in fire science. They didn't have to have any background at all to become a firefighter. That's why the fire spread. That's why the fire spread. Very sad thing. When you have people that are members of your fire department that had no business being there, that could not handle the stress and could not handle the equipment adequately to put out the fires. And then we have people like Governor Newsom and the mayor let 2 major reservoirs in that area go dry. And as a result, no water to fight the fires. Unreal. Unreal. And Governor Newsom said he was going to do everything in his power to make sure that people were going to be able to rebuild their homes. He and the mayor have been stepping in front of those people, keeping them from being able to do their job and rebuilding their homes. They wanted to turn that area of Los Angeles into a 15-minute city. This is happening all over the world. This is happening all over the world. They're trying to burn down our towns. They're trying to kill people. The World Health Organization wanted to, up until 6 months ago, to start another pandemic to try to control us and lock us down. That didn't work. We got a new president. The new president signed legislation to keep the World Health Organization at bay, kicking them out of the United States as well as the World Economic Forum. That way, the United States people have confirmed that they're going to stay in charge of their own lives. That's the way it should be. We cannot let these people in charge take us down. Fortunately for us, we have a president that's trying to stand up for us. Unreal. Unreal. Now, before I go off the handle with the politics, I want to talk about volcanoes and earthquakes. Volcanoes and earthquakes. First off, let me show you where some of the earthquakes are that have happened. I want to make sure you understand what's going on. I'm going to the USGS map now. I want to bring up the USGS map. I'm going to pull it out here. It was over in Southern California here on my desktop here. Right here in Northern California. Northern California. Just east of the Gorda Escarpment. Just east of the San Andreas Fault here. This is Rio Dell, California. This is a 2.0 magnitude earthquake here. 2.0 magnitude earthquake. Why am I talking about that? Because a year and a half ago, 1.5 years ago, we had a 7.4 earthquake out here in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Northern California. It was actually an 8.4 earthquake. 10 times the size of a 7.4. At that point in time, we had several hundred aftershocks. We had people hurt in Rio Dell, California, where this earthquake hit today. Down in Petrolia, California, other people hurt down there. Buildings damaged throughout this coastal area of Northern California, all over the place. And now today, we have another 2.0 earthquake here in Rio Dell. Okay? I want to show you this. This has everything specific to being part of the Cascadia Megathrust Earthquake Southern Region. The southern region of the California Megathrust Earthquake, Cascadia Earthquake. Why do I say that? Off the coast here, at this triple junction that you see here on the map, the triple junction. This is the location of the Cascadia subduction zone. That earthquake fault going north here along the coastal areas of California, Oregon, and Washington, going up along the coastline of British Columbia, all the way up to Haida Gwaii, Queen Charlotte Island. Cascadia subduction zone. The Cascadia subduction zone comes down here. It meets up with the Gorda Escarpment going out to the western Pacific. It also touches here with the San Andreas Fault, which runs from here all the way through California to and through southern Mexico, all the way down along the coastal areas of southern Mexico, the San Andreas Fault. I believe we're still going to see a Cascadia megathrust earthquake happen right up in this area here, just off the coast of Seattle, Tacoma area, right in this area here. Again, this is the Cascadia subduction zone. This Cascadia subduction zone. Out here to the west, we see the Juan de Fuca Fault. Juan de Fuca Fault. Juan de Fuca. Fuca. Juan de Fuca Fault. That Juan de Fuca Fault zigzags through the eastern Pacific here, and it meets up here just south of Queen Charlotte Island with the Cascadia subduction zone. There are earthquakes up here. There are always earthquakes in this region. But again, USGS is not going to show them to us. Most of these earthquakes today are minor, small earthquakes on the west coast of North America. Again, the North American plate. Up here in Alaska, most of the earthquakes here are in southern Alaska here. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. I want to go down here to Anchorage, Alaska. I want to take you down to Anchorage, Alaska, right here. Anchorage, Alaska is the capital of Alaska. We go across the Cook Inlet here, the Cook Inlet. We go out here to the west. This near Point McKenzie, Alaska. This is a small 3.1 earthquake. Further out to the west here is Mount Spur, the volcano. Mount Spur is approximately 75 miles northwest of Anchorage, Alaska. Folks, Mount Spur is having earthquakes. Mount Spur is putting out earthquakes. It appears that Mount Spur is trying to erupt again. This has been ongoing for quite some time. I want to make that very clear. These kinds of earthquakes have been happening at Mount Spur for quite some time. Okay? What's going on? We have minor and small earthquakes happening around Mount Spur, around the volcano and inside the volcano itself. These have been going on for quite some time. There is no real danger as of yet. But the Alaska Volcanic Observatory has put Mount Spur on a yellow volcanic standby alert, a cautionary alert. A cautionary alert. No real danger yet. Okay? I don't specifically think there's going to be any danger anytime soon. But you have to take the Alaskan Volcanic Observatory at their word. So they put a cautionary alert on Mount Spur. Okay? That's the biggest thing that's happened up here. We are monitoring Mount Spur every day. I get email alerts about what's going on here at Mount Spur every day. I will constantly monitor that and put that information out for all of you. I promise you that. I will keep you informed as to what's going on. Let's go back to the map here. Okay? Down here, over here along the upper peninsula of Alaska here. This is a 2.2 earthquake. This is a 2.2 earthquake. This is a minor earthquake here, just south of a volcano, south of Old Iliamna Volcano. South of Old Iliamna Volcano. Okay? Now, why are we having earthquakes here? Because all of the volcanoes are trying to recharge. All of the volcanoes are trying to recharge. Rob's here. Thank you for being here, Rob. I appreciate you so much. Rob called me earlier to tell me what was going on about some things. I followed up with all of you as well. Now, over here in the Aleutian Islands here, this is a 3.5 small earthquake out here in the western Aleutian Islands here. Notice where it's at. It's on the earthquake ridge here. It's on the ridge here. This is far south from the islands here. Far south from the islands here. It's only a 3.5 small earthquake in the Aleutian Islands here. However, over here just south of Kamchatka Peninsula, we have a 4.4 moderate earthquake here. A 4.4 moderate earthquake here. Now, folks, that's nothing. That's nothing. Let me enlarge this to show you where this is at. This is off the coast, east of a major volcano here. This is Abaco Volcano here. Abaco Volcano has been erupting off and on for years now. Right now, Aveyah volcano is not erupting. But I want to show you this because many people don't even realize that there is an active volcano here. However, over here on Kamchatka Peninsula, there are multiple active volcanoes. Multiple active volcanoes, and they are erupting. They are erupting. I want to go down here to Japan. You see a swarm of earthquakes here, guess what? We had a 6.4 earthquake here. We had a 6.4 earthquake here yesterday. Today we have a 4.4 earthquake here. This is 61 kilometers south-southeast of Onagawa, Japan. Further north. This is a 4.7 earthquake here. Again, off the coast of Onagawa, Japan. A 6.4 earthquake here. We had no reports of damage from this earthquake. Absolutely no reports of damage from that 6.4 earthquake. Now, because it was less than a 6.5, there was no tsunami alert issued. There was no tsunami alert issued, and there were no felt reports here on Japan. There were no felt reports of the earthquake here on Japan. It could have been. It was 47 miles off the coast of Japan. Notice where these earthquakes are. This major earthquake fault here. This same earthquake fault comes out of Indonesia. Earthquakes come out of Indonesia up in the Philippines, all the way up to right down here, Taipei, Taiwan, the Philippines here, earthquakes here. USGS is not even talking about all the earthquakes. They're not. USGS is saying there are 249 earthquakes worldwide. They're not. There are over 1,000 earthquakes worldwide. 1,000 earthquakes worldwide. You see this earthquake out in the Western Pacific here. This is a large 5.0 earthquake here in the Northern Mariana Islands. A large 5.0 earthquake here in the Northern Mariana Islands. This earthquake hit here, not near any land point. Not any land point. So as a result, nobody felt this earthquake and there's no damage here in the Mariana Islands here. Okay? We go further down here to the south here. Right in here. The Mariana Islands fault zone comes all the way down here. It's an undersea ridge, one of the deepest ridges in the Pacific. One of the deepest ridges here in the Pacific. It comes down here and joins in here south of the Philippines and here into the northern Indonesia region. Notice that the USGS is not showing any earthquakes at all here in the Philippines. They're wrong. There are 4 or 5 earthquakes ascending in size from 3.0 on up to 4.8 here in the Philippines. I expect that to change very soon. Notice down here in Indonesia, they're showing 4 earthquakes. What a joke. What a cotton picking joke. There are over 29 earthquakes here. The reason I said there are 29, there are at least 29 earthquakes here. USGS has taken down some of them. USGS is not even showing all the earthquakes here. They're only showing 4. What a joke. What a cotton picking joke. They're showing this one down off the coast of southern Sumatra, Indonesia. This is a 4.7 earthquake off the coast of Bengkulu, Indonesia. 4.7 moderate earthquake here. Down here in south central Indonesia here. This is a 4.1 near Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste, Indonesia, 4.1 moderate earthquake here. This is a 4.6 in the Banda Sea. This earthquake over here in Timor-Leste is also in the Banda Sea. Right here. See this? Multiple earthquakes here. 4.4 here, and also 4.1. Over here to the northeast, this is a 4.6 in the Banda Sea also. Also in the Banda Sea here is a 4.4 here, near Ambon, Indonesia. They're hardly showing anything going on. USGS does nothing but lie. The USBS does nothing but lie. There is a minor earthquake down here in southeastern Australia and another minor earthquake over here in southwestern Australia here, just north of Perth here. Okay? I want to go further out here into the Pacific Ocean here. Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea. This is a 4.7 earthquake here. Guess what? Moderate earthquake here. Just off the coast of Papua New Guinea. I don't believe anybody even felt this earthquake. The ocean waters of the Pacific Ocean absorbed the shockwaves of this quake. Okay? Further out here to the east. This is a large 5.0 earthquake here. This is a 4.8 earthquake here. These are earthquakes in Papua New Guinea area, but it's out in the waters of the Pacific Ocean, and nobody felt this earthquake either. And the seismic waves were absorbed by the Pacific Ocean here. I want to go over here to the west, right here. This is Port Vila, Vanuatu. This is a 4.7 earthquake here. 62 kilometers south-southwest of Port Vila. The ocean waters of the Pacific Ocean absorbed the shockwaves of this quake as well. Okay, out here. This is 286 kilometers west-southwest of Houma Tonga, H-O-U-M-A Tonga. This is a 4.2 earthquake here, and nobody felt this earthquake because it's out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, or by Fiji. For the south, this is a 5.3 earthquake here, a 5.3 earthquake here in the Kermadec Islands. A 5.3 earthquake here in the Kermadec Islands. Right there. Okay. The other day we had a 6.4 earthquake here in the Kermadec Islands. I want to remind everybody, I did not come on the air about it because the Kermadec Islands here are undersea pieces of lava. What sticks up out of the ocean are islands, but nobody lives on it but birds. The Kermadec Islands are bird sanctuaries. Nobody can even get to the Kermadec Islands to check on the birds except during high tide, when the ocean waters are higher than the volcanic rock underneath this water. If the scientists tried to get in here during low tide, their boats would be thrown upon the rocks and they would sink. That didn't happen. 6.4 earthquake here the other day. This is as a result of that earthquake. There will be no propagation of quakes. This is a shallow earthquake. If this was a deep earthquake, there would be a propagation of earthquakes, meaning seismic energy larger and more shallow would happen. But this was already a shallow quake. This large earthquake here, 5.3, 10 kilometers deep. Very shallow earthquake. We've talked about moderate earthquakes here before in the Kermadec Islands area. They have been deep earthquakes, and as a result, those deep earthquakes propagate larger, shallower quakes. And that's what I believe we have here with this 5.3 earthquake. We said it was going to happen, and it did. Down here in New Zealand, USBS is lying to the public. There's probably 26 earthquakes in and around the North Island of New Zealand. Most of those earthquakes are up here in the Bay of Plenty, or what I refer to as a catcher's mitt, because that's exactly what it looks like, is at a baseball catcher's mitt. This is where most of those earthquakes occur. However, we do have some earthquakes over here on the island itself, just south of the Bay of Plenty right here. 2.0 to 3.5 earthquakes. 2.0, 3.5 earthquakes here. I want to go further south here over Topol Lake. This, folks, is Topol Lake. This is a super volcano over here in New Zealand. A super volcano here in New Zealand. Yes, there are earthquakes to the north of Topol Lake. There are earthquakes to the south. There have been tiny tremors and minor earthquakes happening around Topol Lake. That's because all of the volcanoes worldwide are recharging. All of the volcanoes worldwide are recharging. I want to make that clear. Also, off to the east of the island here, we've had multiple earthquakes out here, 3.5 to 4.7. 3.5 small earthquakes to 4.7 moderate earthquakes happening over here. Why am I concerned? Look at this trench here. This trench coming out of Tonga, the Tongan Trench. This is the area where the Pacific Trench, or the Pacific Plate, subducts under the Indo-Australian Plate. Over here we have the Indo-Australian Plate. The Pacific Plate is subducting under the Indo-Australian Plate. Scientists are waiting. They said it might be up to 25 to 30 years, but probably not much longer than that. They are expecting an 8.0 plus megathrust earthquake here off the east coast of New Zealand right here. They're expecting it. So far that hasn't happened, but with all of the earthquakes up and down the coastline here, off the coast of New Zealand, I have a feeling that things are wrapping up. I have a feeling that things are wrapping up here. I don't know for sure. I don't know that much about New Zealand geology. I've been studying it. I have books on New Zealand geology here. But I'm warning you. I'm warning you. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We have had a handful of earthquakes here on the South Island, to the north of the South Island right here. We've also had a couple minor earthquakes and small earthquakes down here on the southwestern part of the South Island. That's where the great big huge earthquake fault comes through. Earthquake fault here on the southwestern coast of the South Island here. Something else also happened yesterday morning, south of Australia near Macquarie Island here. We had another major earthquake here, an 8.0 earthquake here, an 8.0 major earthquake here. Now, folks, what is happening here? This earthquake here happened yesterday morning, but it happened here on the South Antarctic Ridge. The South Antarctic Ridge here in the Indian Ocean. Okay? Major earthquake. Do I think it's going to happen again? Possibly. If we had an 8.0 earthquake here, it's going to keep moving. The seismic energy could move it over here to the west along the Antarctic Ridge and go over here into the central part of the Indian Ocean. It could happen. It could happen. That seismic energy could also move southwest, southeast here. It could move southeast here into the Pacific Ocean. It could hook up here on the southeastern Pacific rise here. Then it could go over here into Chile or Argentina here. It could. Or it could happen, it might go down here into the South Islands down here in the South Sandwich Islands. And later, it can also travel over here into the mid-Atlantic. It can travel over here into the mid-Atlantic, and then the seismic energy goes up the mid-Atlantic here. We've shown you before how this happens. We've shown you before how this happens. It happens quite frequently. Happens quite frequently. They're not showing us any earthquakes on the mid-Atlantic ridge at all. At all. Let's go out here further to the west here. Over here in the Myanmar, Thailand border region here. This is a 4.1 earthquake here. This again is not the only 4.1 earthquake here in northern Thailand. North of Thailand here is Myanmar. We have 6 earthquakes here in Myanmar. Aftershocks. Aftershocks of a major earthquake here in Myanmar just 2 months ago. This 4.1 here in Thailand is an aftershock of that major earthquake in Myanmar. This whole area is still digging out from the depths of that earthquake. The destruction of that major earthquake in Myanmar. Still happening. We go north here into southern China. The 4.4 earthquake here. We go through here through the Himalaya Islands here, Himalaya Mountains here. Okay? There are earthquakes here that USGS is not talking about because they don't want us to know what is going on here at the edge of the plate. The Himalaya Mountains are the edge of the Chinese plate here. The Chinese plate. Okay? Further over here, this is Tajikistan. This is a 4.4 earthquake here in Tajikistan. Again, USGS is not showing us all the earthquakes here. Why not? Because they don't do it. They don't do it unless they are pressured in doing it. Yes, I am putting pressure on the USGS through Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I've been working with Elon Musk up until now, trying to put pressure on the USGS. Those of you that would like to see an audit of the USGS, I'd recommend emailing Kash Patel or Dan Bongino, or emailing Doge. Put some financial pressure on USGS by emailing Doge. Have them take a look at the records of USGS. I can assure you they're going to find anomalies with the budget of the USGS. Going further over here into Iran, this moderate 4.3 earthquake in Iran, southern Iran here. There are earthquakes going forward up here into Syria and Turkey border region right here. 18 earthquakes here. These are 18 aftershocks of a major 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that happened here on February 3rd, 2023. 9.0, 10.0 earthquake happened here February 3rd, 2023. That earthquake killed over 5,000 people and injured over 5,000 more. The people here have already been here 2 years. They're still trying to recover from that earthquake. But every time they get an aftershock, if it's a felt earthquake 2.8, 3.0 in magnitude, some of them are even living on land here. They don't have homes. Yes, some of them have apartments. Others are living on the land. They can't find a home. They feel these earthquakes. Every time they feel these earthquakes, all of a sudden they get scared. There are other earthquakes here in Turkey. There are other earthquakes here in Turkey, northern Turkey, southern Turkey, and central Turkey. But again, USGS doesn't show them, do they? Western Turkey here. There's like 40 earthquakes here in Western Turkey today. There are 25 earthquakes here in the ocean here, in the Aegean Sea. Why? Folks, there are volcanoes down here. Every island here belongs to Greece. Every island here was born by volcanism. And as a result, we still have magma deep below the surface of the ocean here, in the crust of the earth. The magma is still trying to find its way through bedrock to try to erupt. That's why we keep having earthquakes here. Magma is coming here and fracturing rock here underneath the Aegean Sea, trying to find a way to erupt. And at some point in time, that's going to happen. There's either going to be a submarine volcano, meaning a volcano in the water, or one of the volcanoes here on one of these islands are going to erupt. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. Over here in Greece, 16 earthquakes here in Greece, north and south. 16 earthquakes right here. All we have here are tremors. 1.0, 0.8, 1.7, 1.8 tremors here. Yes, also we have some 2.0, 2.3 earthquakes here as well. That's normal every day here. Every day here. Now, yes, we are having earthquakes over here in Sicily and southern Italy. Yes, we have Mount Etna erupting down here on the island. It's going to continue to erupt for a while now. It erupts off and on here. But another area I want to talk about is right here, near the Vesuvius volcano. Folks, Vesuvius here is still trying to erupt. Let me enlarge this picture. I'll show you why. Look at this. Vesuvius volcano is trying to erupt. It's steaming. Hot magma is down below the volcano, inside the volcano trying to find its way out. Magma is pounded on that huge volcanic plug. There's a huge volcanic plug holding the magma inside the volcano. That huge lava plug has gotten fissures in it, cracks in the volcanic plug. With that hot steam coming from the magma, yes, 67% of water, or 67% of magma is water. That's why we have steam coming from the volcanoes. This hot steam is also enlarging all those holes, all those fissures in the volcanic plug. At some point in time, there's going to be an eruption here. As I've shown you this before, the area around Vesuvius volcano is highly populated. Huge urban population here. It's no small wonder about the volcanism people here in Italy concerned about what's going to happen. Yes, they have evacuated some people from around the volcano, but not everybody has wanted to leave. And in fact, some people have left their homes because they feared that their homes would fall because of the earthquakes that are happening. Some people are living in their cars. Some people are living in the cars here because they fear the volcano, they fear the earthquakes. They're doing it. Mount Vesuvius is still trying to erupt. The magma down underneath the volcano is causing earthquakes, fracturing the rock down underneath the volcano, causing earthquakes every day. Every day. North central Italy up here. 38 earthquakes here. 38 earthquakes here. Now, when we have swarms of earthquakes like we've had here, it's no small wonder we haven't had a large earthquake. When we have swarms of earthquakes, that only means the potential for a large earthquake is very real. Swarms of earthquakes indicate a potential for a large earthquake being real, meaning a 5.0 to 6.0 earthquake. That's what we fully expect to happen here, north central Italy here. You're not seeing any earthquakes here in northern Italy. You're not seeing any earthquakes here in Switzerland or the Alps Mountains. There are earthquakes. Over here in Switzerland, we have some real problems. One of the rocks of the Alps Mountains fell into the town and destroyed the town. When it fell in the town, there was a huge landslide. A glacier came down here and also destroyed the town with water and ice. That water is endangering other towns downstream from Blatten, Switzerland. Okay? Other towns are also being evacuated right now because of the threat of water and possibility of a landslide. It could happen. It could happen. But notice the USGS does not want to get involved with anything. Heaven forbid they even show us earthquakes in Switzerland. France, Spain. Down here in the border region of Spain, we always have earthquakes. 1.6, 1.7, 2.0 earthquakes, but there's always an earthquake here. USGS is not talking about it. Minor earthquakes down here in southern Spain and northern Spain. They're not talking about it. Earthquakes southwest of Spain here or Portugal here in the Azores. They're not talking about that. There's a half dozen earthquakes here. Half dozen earthquakes here. Why are they not talking about USGS? Okay. Down here, the Canary Islands, guys. The Canary Islands. You don't see any earthquakes here. We have some tremors down here in the Canary Islands. Okay? That's what's going on. Yes, we have some tremors up here in Iceland as well. Tremors and small earthquakes here. I still expect an eruption here of the volcano here in the Reykjanes area, the Reykjanes Peninsula area here. I fully expect the volcano to erupt over here. Another fissure eruption here. Another fissure eruption here. Fully expect it any day now. We've had some small, minor earthquakes and tremors throughout this whole area. We know why. Because the magma is fracturing the rock down inside the island. It's trying to find its way to the surface here. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Now, with the Atlantic fault here, the mid-Atlantic fault. The mid-Atlantic fault here is expanding. The mid-Atlantic plate here is expanding. And as a result, it's pushing Greenland, Canada, the United States, and northern Mexico in a southwesterly direction. There are earthquakes here. There are earthquakes here. Earthquakes in eastern Nova Scotia, Canada, down here into the northern United States, Connecticut even, west in eastern Virginia here, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, earthquakes all up and down the coastline. Where else are there earthquakes? Where else do you think there's earthquakes? Down here on the New Madrid seismic zone. New Madrid seismic zone, guys. Be advised, we're going to see a good sized earthquake here shortly. We'll talk more about that tomorrow night. I promised you a little discussion on volcanoes. I'm going to do that right now. Up here in Washington State, USGS is not showing anything, are they? Hardly anything. On the eastern side of the Puget Sound here, Yarrow Point, Washington, 1.1 tremor. Interesting, but no cigar. Interesting, but no cigar. Down here, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Adams. Yes, we have earthquakes here, but heaven forbid USGS shows it to us. Guess what? Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens are moving. They're moving. Even the USGS is worried about it. There is enough seismic energy here to be very concerned about what's going on. Yes, Mount Rainier is going to erupt at some point in time here. Now, USGS is saying that it's not an imminent situation. Well, guess what? If they were not monitoring it so heavy, I would not be so concerned. But I know for a fact what's going on here. They are monitoring this volcano. They're monitoring Mount St. Helens as well. Mount St. Helens has basically been asleep since 1980 with only a small spat, literally a spat in 2003. Folks, Mount Rainier has not erupted for a very long time. It's going to erupt. It's getting hit with earthquakes, getting hit with tremors, getting hit with steam exiting the top of the volcano. Mount Rainier is going to erupt. Mount St. Helens is going to erupt, and the possibility even of Mount Adams right here. Nobody even talks about Mount Adams at all, but Mount Adams could also erupt. Down here at Mount Hood, good old Mount Hood. Mount Hood is also going to erupt at some point in time. It's not as active as the other volcanoes. However, yesterday, Mount Hood had a spat of tremors. Tremors hit southern Mount Hood. Government camp. Government camp on the south side of the volcano. Tremor activity. Lots and lots of tremors. We drop down to Oregon. South central Oregon. Sisters Volcanic Complex. Sisters Volcanic Complex. Guess what? Sisters Volcanic Complex is showing signs of instability, unrest. USGS is only showing one seismograph located at Sisters Volcano. Interesting enough, Sisters Volcano is 3 volcanic complex: Sisters North, Sisters Central, and Sisters South. 3 volcanoes being monitored by one seismograph. What a joke. Those volcanoes can each have their own seismograph and seismograph. Earthquakes happening here. Earthquakes happening down here in south central Oregon here at Crater Lake. Crater Lake looks like it's about to erupt as well. Crater Lake is steaming out of Wizard Island. Crater Lake is shaking, but USGS has cut off all of the seismographs except for one. The southern central side of Crater Lake, bunkhouse. That is presently the only seismograph available to monitor Crater Lake. There are earthquakes hitting Crater Lake as well. Okay, I'm telling you. The Cascade Mountain volcanoes going even down to Shasta and Lassen are getting to the point where they're going to erupt. Just telling you, it's going to happen very soon. I keep even thinking to myself every night when I go to bed, are we going to see an eruption today? Are we going to see an eruption today? Yes, I honestly believe that could happen. I'm monitoring all the information channels. I'm monitoring the agencies. Yes, they can lie, but they cannot cover up the data. They cannot cover up all of the data. There is way too much data to cover up. I'm monitoring it. I'm not going to stop. Does anyone have a question for me? Does anyone have a question for me? Hurricane Heather says Idaho is swarming. You're right. It is. Idaho is swarming. I will have more of a report on Idaho tomorrow. I will have more of a report about Idaho and even northern Utah swarming. But again, USGS and the Utah State Seismological System out of Utah State University is not talking about all the earthquakes in Utah. Why not? There are earthquakes, tremors and minor earthquakes, but USGS has coerced the Utah Seismological System over in the university to not talk about it. Not talk about it. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you this. Yellowstone is nowhere even close to erupting. I do not believe Yellowstone is even close to erupting. However, we have earthquakes in Idaho. We have some minor tremors around Yellowstone. We do. But I'm going to assure you, Yellowstone is nowhere close to erupting at all. Now, Renee, Steffi, and Heather have been talking about weather here. I praise that. I praise that. Why? Because, folks, weather is important. People's lives hang in the balance with rain, flooding, thunderstorms, and tornadoes. We're going to have a lot of those very soon. Renee Steffi is talking about a flash flood warning issued today from 7:30 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. tonight, Mountain Daylight Time, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Flash flood warning. Flash flood warning. Folks, if any of you live in or near Albuquerque, watch and make sure your weather radio is up and running. Watch and make sure your scanners are running. Make sure you can talk on the ham radio and CB radios. Make sure you're watching your radios and televisions, your AM, FM weather stations, your AM, FM talk radio stations. They will give you up-to-the-minute information if the rain and flash flood is going to affect you. We do have family members here in the Albuquerque area. Albuquerque urban area as well. Be safe over there, please. That flash flooding is going to go over into Texas and Oklahoma as well. Be advised, we will be watching it. As things change, we will come back on the air and tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Renee, for putting up the information. We definitely appreciate it. Do we have any other questions? Hurricane Heather says it's monsoon season in the Pueblos. Yes, it is. Rob 52 is saying there is going to be rain in Arizona because of the monsoons coming up from Mexico. There is a tropical storm going into northern Mexico now. That tropical storm may blow off monsoon weather up into Arizona and even into Eastern California and over into Texas. Be advised, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. For the next few months, we may see monsoon season ramp up in that area. Okay? Do we have any questions? Richard Smith is talking about Corvo volcano in the Azores. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible it could erupt. It's acting up. There's severe unrest under Corvo volcano there in the Azores. Going to happen. Rob 52 is reporting that a big thunderstorm last night in Arizona, big time. Not surprising. Rob, I'm so grateful that you and your dear wife and family are okay. The people down there in that area are also okay. That area is going to swarm with monsoon season in full swing. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Rob, I appreciate your calling me this morning. I really do appreciate it. I passed on that information to people here. Guys, if we don't have any other questions, I want to leave you with a thought. I've been leaving you with thoughts for a long time now. My thought now comes from Proclaiming the Gospel by Spencer W. Kimball. Proclaiming the Gospel. I wanted to read you this passage that says, nothing is impossible with God. Yet there are men among us who wade into the public puddle. They wade into the public puddle instead of accepting the immensity of the ocean. And some who think of our earth as a great creation when it is a small portion of the works of God. And Enoch, the prophet, had revelations and visions and heard the voice of the Lord say, I am God. I made the world, and men before they were in the flesh. Sometimes we became provincial. When I was a child, I thought the Gila Valley in Arizona was a world. When I grew up and learned that many people lived around Salt Lake City, Spencer Kimball went to work for the railroad. And even down into Los Angeles, millions of people all over the world. He said he came to increase his admiration for God. His admiration for God. Admiration for the Lord, who made it all possible. Folks, with God, everything is possible. With God, everything is possible. As my knowledge has increased, my faith seemed to multiply. As I saw things happen in my small, infinite mind, it seemed impossible sometimes. But as my knowledge has increased throughout my life, it was like just a thumbnail portion of knowledge that I had. My knowledge has increased. As I went outdoors, as I grew, I became fascinated with the outdoors. I love being out in nature in the trees and lakes and even around the ocean when we moved to California. So my faith began to grow greater and greater toward the faith that I have now, that nothing is impossible with God. Nothing is impossible with God. Folks, listen to the Lord. Listen to the Lord. The Lord will lead you. The Lord will help you. The Lord will help you. Rob is asking about the Purple Crown. What does the Purple Crown mean? Okay. Now, I don't get into this usually. I don't dabble in this kind of stuff. According to the internet, the Purple Crown is known as the crown chakra. It's often associated with spirituality, enlightenment, and connection to the divine. In various spiritual practices, the purple color and the crown chakra are linked to wisdom, intuition, and the ability to experience the higher state of consciousness. I don't dabble in it. But think of God. Think of God. I have a heart, what they call a heart chakra. Everybody has a heart chakra. When you give somebody a hug, you pass on a little bit of your faith. You pass on humility. You pass on love. Those kinds of things can help each and every one of us. Those kinds of things can help us. Hurricane Heather, I don't know what that purple crown here on the chat is. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand it. It started happening on Saturday, I believe. It's been going on ever since. Hurricane Heather says it's on every one of the live streams that she mods for. I'm going to check into it. I don't understand it. It's something that YouTube started doing. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm going to find out. Rob52 says it's showing up on everyone's name. Sage Pup just mentioned it to me yesterday during Sunday school, and I also noticed on Friday as well. It's new. I'm going to check into it. Anyway, guys, yes, it's annoying. I agree, Heather. I think it's very annoying. But I'll check into that. I don't know. Anyway, guys, do you have any other questions for me in regards to anything we talked about? Okay. Again, the volcano just north of Anchorage, Alaska, Mount Spur. Small volcanic earthquakes, tremors and minor earthquakes, 2.0 as well, directly underneath the volcano. Directly underneath the volcano. Anyway, guys, if you need anything, send me an email. If you have any questions or advice, send it to me. If you have any comments about this program, put your comments down in the comments section below this video, and I will answer your comments. I will answer your comments. I hope you have a good night, everybody, and a better tomorrow. We'll see you on the other side. Take care, everybody. Please know that I love you and God loves you as well. Take care. Enjoy your evening. See you soon.